I'm not sure how to start this without sounding unhinged, so maybe I'll just say it plain. I do IT compliance for a mid-sized company that sells industrial cooling systems. I've been told I have a calming presence, a neutral face, and the ability to listen without interrupting. People tend to mistake that for emotional stability. It's not. Anyway, Audrey. She's my ex. And this is the story of how she cheated on me. When you find out who it is, you will laugh. More than me, of course. And how they're now raising a cat together named Gabe Jr. And how that cat has an Instagram account. And how that cat, Gabe Jr., blocked me. I'm aware of how ridiculous that sounds. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm actually in a very bad place. The betrayal? That was slow. It started as a bunch of weird, blurry moments, little things that didn't make sense, but I convinced myself they were just quirks. Red flags disguised as personality traits. Audrey was unpredictable, but I used to call that passion. She overshared with strangers. I called it warmth. She called me Therapist Gabe and laughed about how I was her emotional support man. But yeah, looking back, I probably should have known something was off the day she told me she doesn't believe in locking her phone because privacy is a capitalist construct. Or maybe it was when she said, during an argument about directions, that I had uber energy, not in a good way. Foreshadowing. That's what they call it in books, right? At first, I thought I was the one unraveling. I was obsessing over details, timestamps, receipts, stories that didn't line up. But the mind does that, I guess. It looks for logic. It tries to build bridges over gaps where trust used to live. And I wanted to trust her. I really did. Even when she was ordering a suspicious amount of rides without ever leaving the house. I know how this sounds. I do. But there's something about being cheated on that no one prepares you for. It's not the sex, or even the lying. It's the weird, mundane aftershocks. Like opening Instagram at 2 a.m. and realizing that your ex-girlfriend's new cat, who has been named after you, has more followers than you, and that he's blocking your comments. Like literally. You type, cute cat, and it disappears. Try to message, and you're met with that cold wall. User not found. That's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if you're dreaming, or in a simulation run by petty gods. So yeah, that's where I'm at. She cheated on me. They named a cat after me, and the cat has blocked me. And I'm here because apparently, that's not normal, and I need to process. So process this. We met at a Halloween party. I was dressed as a malfunctioning printer. Don't ask. And she came as a haunted influencer, which was basically her regular clothes plus fake blood on her phone screen. She called it ironic commentary. I thought it was clever. In hindsight, that might have been the first test. The way she laughed when no one else understood her costume, like she existed in some secret broadcast frequency and only certain people could tune in. I tuned in. We got drunk off pumpkin beer. She told me she had a trauma bond with chaos and that her ex once tattooed her childhood address on his thigh. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She was magnetic, sharp-tongued, and just the right amount of unstable to make you think you could fix her. Not in a savior complex kind of way. More like, if I just love her right, maybe she won't set things on fire. Emotionally speaking, probably. We started dating fast. The kind of fast that skips steps. No slow build. No real foundation. Just sprinting into each other with open hearts and blindfolds. She moved in after 2 months. Her toothbrush showed up before we even had the talk. There were signs. There were always signs. Like how she talked to Uber drivers like they were therapists. Or how she refused to say boyfriend, opting instead for man in my orbit. Or how she said monogamy was a social experiment that doesn't scale well. And I laughed because I thought she was quoting something. Nope. That was Audrey being Audrey. She was beautiful, but not in the boring, symmetrical way. She had a scar on her chin she never explained. She collected postcards from places she'd never been. She'd say things like, "Love is just prolonged delusion unless you actively choose it every morning." And I'd nod, like a man being hypnotized into complicity. I told myself she was just a little eccentric, not unstable, not dishonest, just nonlinear. That was her word for it. Nonlinear. The irony is that I'm the most linear person I know. I alphabetize my spice rack. I run updates on my router weekly. I feel calmer around spreadsheets. But somehow, I believe that she and I were balance. That I was the anchor, and she was the sail. That's what love does. It gives chaos a narrative arc. And the Uber rides? They started small. A few a week. Then more. Sometimes 3 a day. She said she had ride anxiety, hated driving, loved talking to strangers. I didn't question it. Who questions transportation? I should have. I didn't know then that those rides were more than rides. I didn't know about him, the driver. I didn't know he had a man bun, or that his name was Zane but spelled Z-N because his parents were quirky, or that he'd eventually be living in our old apartment. All I knew was that Audrey would get in a car with a stranger and come back looking like she'd just smoked existential clarity. But I didn't ask. I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend. That was always her line. Don't be weird, Gabe. Don't get all jealous. So I didn't. I kept my head down, paid the bills, bought us oat milk, and let her be free. And she was very, very free. You ever get the feeling that something's wrong, but you can't prove it? Like the math doesn't check out, but you're not sure where the decimal slipped? That's what it was like living with Audrey during the final stretch. I wasn't cheated on. I was gradually erased. It started with the smells. Our apartment used to smell like her vanilla candles and my anxiety sweat. That changed. One morning I woke up and the place smelled like pine wood and cheap cologne, like a barbershop in a gas station. I asked about it, and she said she bought a new essential oil diffuser. I looked for it. There was no diffuser. Then came the Uber charges. Dozens of them, sometimes to nowhere. One time she took a 10-minute ride to the corner store and stayed gone for an hour and a half. She came back with a single banana and a bandage on her wrist. I asked what happened. She said she fell into a metaphor. A metaphor. She said she tripped, but not physically, emotionally, and that it manifested on her skin. I stopped asking questions after that. What the hell do you say to that? Another time, I came home early and found 2 empty coffee mugs on the table. Both hers. I mean, they were mine, but hers. She doesn't drink coffee. She said she made one for the vibes. The other? She looked at it like it had appeared out of thin air and said, "Weird. I must be extra caffeinated." She said weird things often. That was the thing about Audrey. She could weaponize confusion. She'd say something so abstract, so casually deranged, that by the time I tried to fact-check it, she'd already moved on to playing her kalimba or arguing with her plants. Her cat started acting strange, too. Not Gabe Jr. He didn't exist yet. This was our first cat, Beans. Well, technically my cat, but Audrey insisted we were co-parents. Beans was a skittish rescue who hid in the laundry hamper most of the time, but then she suddenly got comfortable on the couch during the day, even though Audrey was always home, even when she said she wasn't. Once, I came back from work early, again, just randomly, and heard voices. Her voice, and a male voice. I stood outside the door for 3 minutes trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's a YouTube video. Maybe it's a dream. But then I opened the door, and there was only her. Only Audrey. Alone on the couch. Wearing lipstick. Watching a silent film. I asked, "Who were you talking to?" She said, "Myself. You know I do character therapy." Character therapy. She had created multiple personas for herself to have conversations with, to heal her inner child or something. She told me one of them was a grizzled long-haul trucker named Mitch. I started to think I was paranoid, or broken, or both. Every time I doubted her, I felt like I was betraying the trust I'd built in my own sanity. Gaslighting's not a lightning strike. It's a slow dimmer switch. I started to second-guess everything. Myself, reality, my cat. And then came the cat food. We'd been out for a week, and Audrey kept saying she'd get it. But every time I checked the cabinet, it was still empty. Beans was getting thin. I asked if she was feeding her something else. Audrey said, Don't worry, she's full of love. I bought the damn food myself the next day. Then one night, this was maybe a week before it all unraveled, I saw her texting with this look on her face. The smirk. That private little smirk you never want to see your partner have unless you caused it. I asked what was funny. She said, Zane just texted me a meme about reincarnation. It's dumb. I said, who's Zane? She said, my Uber driver. I said, why does your Uber driver text you memes? She said, why don't your Uber drivers text you memes? She flipped it. She always flipped it. I told myself it was nothing. A moment, not a pattern. But patterns form like cracks. They start small, and then they spread. And they were spreading fast. Gabe Jr. entered my life the way most major traumas do, quietly, like a joke you don't get until it's already too late. It was a Tuesday. Audrey had been weirdly chipper for 3 straight days, which, in our relationship, was a red flag. She'd started waking up early, making smoothies, saying things like, I'm realigning my nervous system. I asked what that meant, and she said she was feeding her inner serotonin. That morning, I came out of the bedroom, and there was a kitten sitting in a woven basket in the middle of the living room like it was a product launch. It was orange, fluffy, smug, like it already hated me. Audrey was sitting cross-legged next to it, smiling like a cult leader mid-ritual. I said, what's this? She said, this is Gabe Jr. I laughed. I thought it was a joke. I waited for the punchline. No punchline. I said, Gabe Jr.? As in me. She said, yeah, but not like you. It's more like a symbolic rebirth of your energy. I stared at her. She was serious. She added, you're so emotionally stable, it just felt right. So to recap, my girlfriend adopted a new kitten behind my back, named it after me, and said it represented my energy. Like I died and been reincarnated as a fluff ball with trust issues. The kitten sneezed and then licked itself, as if to seal the insult. I said, did you adopt this with someone? Her eyes did that thing where they briefly flinch, like a thought slipped out too far. She said, no, of course not. It was just a rescue. Beans, my actual cat, was watching the whole thing from under the couch with the kind of expression that said I tried to warn you. Later that day, I came home from work and the kitten had an Instagram account. Audrey had set it up. She posted a photo of Gabe Jr. wrapped in a tiny hoodie with the caption, Vibes Curator, born again, no trauma, just purring. Already 218 followers. I clicked through the comments. One stood out. Our boy's a star at Zane Moves You. Zane, the Uber driver. I tapped his profile. Public. Bio, wheels, words, wellness. Let's go places. Pictures of sunsets, smoothies, and what I assumed was his man bun peeking out from under various beanies. One post featured Gabe Jr. sitting on his shoulder. I zoomed in. I stared. I hoped it was a recycled photo. It wasn't. The timestamp was from the day before Audrey claimed to have adopted the kitten solo. I left a comment. Didn't know Uber rides came with joint custody. It disappeared in under 10 minutes. I tried again. Cute cat. Looks like he's confused about who his real dad is. Blocked. Gabe Jr. blocked me. Not Audrey. Not Zane. The damn cat. I don't even know how that works. Did she do it? Did he? Did they both sit together and go, yeah, it's time? Gabe can't see the cat anymore? Was there a vote? At that point, I knew. Not officially, not factually, but deep in that ugly, trembling part of the gut where your body always knows before your brain is ready to admit it. They were a thing. Audrey and the Uber driver. And the cat was their shared announcement. I was living in the trailer for a movie I didn't audition for. And the lead role was being played by a man named Zane who smelled like peppermint bark and disrespect. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not until I had proof. Cold, undeniable, catastrophic proof. And I got it. Soon. Let me preface this by saying I didn't want to be that guy. The guy who snoops. The guy who checks browser history. Who makes a fake account to spy on a cat. But betrayal does something to you. It bends your moral compass until north points directly at justified insanity. It started with a hunch. It ended with a PowerPoint presentation. I'll get to that. So after the Gabe Jr. Instagram block, which I still maintain should be legally punishable, I went quiet. Not emotionally, just externally. I played dumb, acted normal, did dishes, kissed Audrey goodnight, pretended not to flinch when she said things like, Zane has such good energy, or you should journal more. Inside, I was spiraling. Quietly, spreadsheet style. I started keeping notes. Every Uber charge, every suspicious smirk, every time she said she was going for a walk to feel grounded and came back with glitter on her collarbone. And then, on a rainy Thursday, it happened. She left her laptop open, unlocked. God reached down and handed me temptation in 13-inch retina display. I didn't even hesitate. I opened her browser. First tab, Gmail. Search bar, Zane Redheart Sparkles. I felt sick. There were emails. Not messages. Not memes. Emails. They called each other Sunbeam and co-pilot of my chaos. One thread was literally titled Parenting Gabe Jr., a shared cosmic duty. One message from Audrey read, I still sleep beside Gabe, but I dream about you. I can't tell him yet. He'll crumble. He thinks we're still building something, but he doesn't realize the house is already ashes. Ashes. She called our relationship ashes while living in my apartment, eating the groceries I bought, using my shampoo. There was another message, this one from Zane. It simply said, he'll find out eventually. You can't keep gaslighting a guy who alphabetizes hot sauce. That one hurt more than I'll admit. I took screenshots. All of them. Saved them in a folder titled Not Ashes. Then I made a PowerPoint. Yeah, a PowerPoint. 22 slides. Color-coded. Timestamps. Google Maps integration. A slide titled Betrayal Timeline. The Descent of Audrey. Another one. The Rise of Gabe Jr. A symbolic hostile takeover. I waited for the right moment. Sunday morning. She was hungover, vulnerable, wrapped in her weighted blanket like it could shield her from moral consequence. I connected the laptop to the TV. Clicked play. Slide 1. Hi Audrey. Let's talk. She blinked. Still drunk. Still smirking. Are you doing a presentation? Slide 2. Zane's profile picture. Slide 3. Gabe Jr. on Zane's shoulder. Slide 4. The email calling me an expired chapter. By slide 10, she wasn't smirking anymore. She said, this feels invasive. I said, so did the cat's Instagram post of him licking Zane's beard. She said, you're being dramatic. I said, you named a cat after me and then had him block me. Silence. She got up, grabbed her phone, left the room. That's how it ended. No apology. No tears. Just the sound of the door clicking shut behind her while the TV flickered with slide 15. Love shouldn't require detective work. They live together now, apparently. I saw it in the background of a Reels video on Gabe Jr.'s account, which is now rebranded as Cat of Dual Sons. He does ASMR now, has 12K followers. Sometimes I think about messaging Zane. Not to fight, just to ask what it was like. Stealing someone's life one ride at a time. But then I remember he thinks Kale has opinions and owns a crystal called Jeff. So no, I just keep going. Just me. A month later. Exactly 32 days after she left. I was doing better. Not great, let's not lie to ourselves, but better. I had joined a support group called People Who Got Cheated On by Someone with a Beanie Collection. It was just me and a guy named Russell who got left for his barista. We cried over cold brew and trauma. It was healing. Then she showed up. Again. No warning. No text. Just appeared outside my apartment like a stray thought you'd finally buried. This time, she brought muffins. Blueberry. Warm. Still in the bakery box. A peace offering with gluten. I opened the door, holding a vacuum cleaner like a weapon. She smiled like we were in a rom-com, like she hadn't emotionally detonated my entire nervous system via Uber. Hey, she said, like it was nothing. I blinked. She said, I was thinking about you. Us. I said, You named a cat after me and then gave it my emotional responsibilities. She blinked back. I miss you. I blinked twice, like a broken traffic signal. She stepped forward, too confidently. I made a mistake, she said. Zane and he's complicated. I think he has intimacy issues. He started a podcast about lucid dreaming and toxic masculinity. It's called Manifest Man, and he only lets men call in. I nodded like someone watching a live car crash. He said we should see other people, which is ironic, because we were never not seeing other people. I said, did you come here to tell me you got dumped by a man who drinks smoothies with creatine and moon water? She ignored me. I just feel like you and we had something real. I see that now. I want to fix things. I miss Beans. I miss your handwriting. I miss how you say honestly before you lie about being fine. She stepped closer, and that's when she handed it to me. A framed photo of Gabe Jr. in a tiny tuxedo, holding a tiny sign that said, "Forgive me, Dad?" I swear to you, the cat was smirking. I said, are you weaponizing the cat now? She said, he's just as hurt as I am. I took a deep breath, centered myself, channeled every ounce of dignity I had left in my slightly wrinkled hoodie. And I said, no, Audrey. She blinked. No, I will not raise a symbolic emotional cat with my ex-girlfriend and her failed spiritual rideshare poet. No, I will not play second fiddle to a man who owns 3 rings and no socks. No, I will not participate in this postmodern polyamorous performance art you call a relationship. She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. No, you had your turn. You chose chaos, crystals, and co-parenting a feline with an influencer. I choose peace and lasagna and watching Shark Tank alone without being psychoanalyzed. Silence. She looked stunned. Then she said, you seem different. I smiled. I stopped following Gabe Jr. on Instagram. She teared up. Is this really goodbye? I said, this is me not chasing a car already on fire. And I closed the door. I heard her sniff, adjust her tote bag, and walk away, probably off to write a haiku about emotional misalignment and almond flour. I stood there, alone, victorious, exhausted. I turned, looked at Beans, who blinked once like a slow clap, and I whispered, we're gonna be okay.